For this video and this assignment, we are going to talk about how to score your PSAT test so that way you can understand what your score would translate to. If you have not already completed your 4 PSAT tests, go ahead and stop our video and complete your remaining exams. Once you guys have completed all 4 exams, you will need to log back into CMS because you will need the raw data for the total number of questions you answered correctly for each of your 4 tests. Once you have the number for questions that you have answered correctly, you guys will input that data on slide number 2. So based off of what I have seen, an average score for our reading test is approximately 18 questions correct. So once you have that, you will continue to work down our rows and enter your test scores. So for writing, an average number that I have seen is roughly about 15. For math with no calculator, an average that I have seen is about 7. And for math with calculator, an average that I have seen is approximately 12. Now, once you have these 4 pieces of data entered into our chart, we are going to follow the arrows on our chart to calculate each of our scores. So if we got 18 questions correct on our reading test, we are going to look on slide number 3 and we are going to find our reading column. So since we had 18 questions correct, that translates right here to a score of 20. So we would go back to our slide number 2. We know that this translates to a score of 20, and following our arrows, we will go ahead and drop that 20 down into its final box. For our writing test, we will do the same. So the student scored 15 on their writing test. We will look for 15 on our raw score. We will look at our center column, which is for our writing test, and that translates to a score of 18. Once you have both numbers in our box, we are going to follow across now from left to right. So 18 plus 20 comes to 38. So 38 times 10 is 380. So again, we're following our arrows and it wants us to drop our 380 down to our last row. So now we have completed following our arrows for both our reading and our writing tests. So now we are going to go ahead and add up our math scores that we have. So we scored a 7 and a 12, which translates to an overall number correct of 19. So again, using our chart on slide number 3, we're going to locate 19 correct answers, and then we are going to locate the number that is on that row for math all the way over in our last column. So for this particular one, for 19 correct, the score would be 470 points. So we would come back over. We would write down 470 points. And so then we would add our 470 and our 380 together for an overall combined score on the PSAT of 850 points. Once we have completed the actual tallying of our score, we will come down to our reflection questions. You guys will answer our 4 reflection questions on the slides that follow. Reflection question 1. What was your best section and what contributed to your success in this section? So using our raw data from slide number 2, determine which of your 4 tests you had the highest percentage of answers correct, and that will be the section that you will reflect on for question number 1. In question number 2, it says, in what areas do you need to study and what is your plan to study for this test, knowing You have to take it twice in high school. So look at your 2 tests where you had your weakest or lowest scores. Those will be the 2 that you will use for question number 2. For question number 3, on a scale of 1 to 5, rate the effort that you gave to taking this test. Explain your rating using your examples. So based off of your effort with the test, and be honest with this one, go ahead and give yourself a rating and then give some examples why. Our final reflection question says, how did the time limit affect your success and how can you prepare for it in the future? So I know that some students were able to finish their test in the allotted time and some students were not able to. So think about how those time limits affected your ability to answer those questions on the test. Once you have answered your reflection questions on slides 5 through 8, go ahead and proceed to slide number 9. And these are some last thoughts from your AVID teachers. Taking this PSAT was not meant to be an exercise in stress, but to simply expose you to what you should expect from a college entry-level test. The good thing is that it will show you where you are doing well, even if the score doesn't seem like it, and where you will still need support. From a middle school perspective, think about it like this. If you scored 850 or above, that means you are above average and you are well on your way to doing awesome when you take this your sophomore year. If you scored a 700 or greater, so between 700 and that 850, you are right on track where you should be as a middle school student. If you scored less than 700, it means you still need support in some areas, and this is a great way to determine which subject and which area you might need some support on. Once you guys have completed the assignment, make sure that you guys are submitting it via Schoology.